Well, I can only speak for my relationships. I can't speak for anybody else's, and what that would, everybody's relationship is different because of the way they've been raised, the way their experiences, and all that kind of stuff. But I think that, and this is coming from failed relationships, um, and the recognition that in a relationship there's two people, or three people, or four people, depending on your relationship. Um, but I think that for me is the genuine communication, the genuine authenticness of the relationship. Oh, that's a little too hard over there. Um, is the authentic communication from the very beginning, because when you do have those tough moments, um, if you've started out the relationship from the very, very beginning with communication and the ability to really talk to one another, it makes it a lot easier when something comes up that's tough. And also compassion and respect at all times, no matter what. I don't give a fuck what happens. I don't give a fuck if the other person says something really mean and derogatory towards you. I don't give a fuck if they you can't react that way. And if both of you start reacting in that way, then the civility is gone, and it's hard to undo. I mean, I had a friend whose relationship ended, and one of the things I told him, I said, he wasn't sure if they were going to get back together and everything else. And I said, well, no matter what, you treat her with respect. No matter what. I don't give a fuck if she does something that's totally disrespectful to you. You don't talk shit about her. You don't talk bad about her. You treat her with respect, no matter what. And Camming on the weekend like usual.
You bet.
Yeah. So compassion is another part of that, and an understanding that someone may not, they may be not quite there at that moment. They may be giving their 100% that they have, but they're only giving what they can give. And I think we always walk around saying, I want 100%. I want 100% all the time. Well, what does that 100% mean? And to me, what I've told Pep is, give me 100% of what you have that day. That may be, yesterday might have been 100% more, and today is 60% of that, or 20% of that, but it's 100% of it that day. And vice versa. And whatever you expect from somebody else, you have to give, even if they don't, because you can't expect something from someone that you're not willing to do yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how solid your relationship is, you can't rock back on your heels and just kind of low and go, oh well, I'm retired now, so I can just do whatever the fuck I want. You have to stay engaged, and part of that staying engaged you have to stay engaged at all times. And so with that compassion, that compassion is that you don't make fun of one another. You don't talk behind one another's backs. If there's a problem going on, you address it. You don't let it build. That doesn't mean like maybe at 3:00 in the morning you wake the person up and have an argument or discussion with them. Mm-hmm. It's picking the time. If they, let's say that they have outside work, you don't choose to have that conversation in the morning before they go to work. You You schedule the time. You say, hey, look, there's something that we need to have a discussion about. You know, what's a good time? And let's sit down and really talk this out and really address it, and don't address the issue itself, not bring in 20,000 other issues. Address that issue, and it's really hard to do. Oh, thank you, Patsy.
Bearded guy, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt Dusty while he was deep in conversation there, so thank you for your patience. Here comes the boob flash.
So I think another key aspect of that, outside of the honesty and the compassion, is, and honesty also doesn't mean like you open up in the very first date that you're on and you should just blow all the shit out. You know, it's an honesty of just of recognizing that there's a timeline. You know, like there's, you know, you're not going to just air all of your laundry, but you should be able to talk genuinely with your partner, because if you're going to be in a long-term relationship with someone, you're going to see a lot of shit. There's going to be a lot of shit that's going to happen, shit that you're not even aware of that's going to happen, and always establishing the fact that you're on the same page with one another, and that leads into the fact that just because you might be in the right place doesn't mean that other person is. And you can't force someone to be in the right place. I mean, they have to be in their own right place. You can be compassionate about it. You can be understanding. You can be nurturing. But ultimately, it's up to them to be in that right place. And I think that leads into the next factor, which is that when you have a long-term relationship, I kind of lost my train of thought.
Oops.
Where was I going to go with that? There was something I wanted to say.
There weren't even any titties out.
I know, there was something I wanted to say. There was so with that said, and being on the right page and everything else, is that the grass is only as green as it is under your feet. You can't step into somebody else's grass.
If you water it and take care of it.
You know, it's, you know, a lot of times we look at somebody else's relationship and go, well, I want that. And is it that, do we want that, or do we want their relationship? And you can't have their relationship. You can only have your relationship. And because you haven't had their experiences, you haven't lived in their shoes, so to speak, you know, and like what you guys see here is based on years and years of love and compassion and understanding, and the fact that the both of us are on the same page, and the fact that we both have had, you know, trying moments both outside of ourselves and outside of our relationship, and moments within it. And it's that continual commitment to be there for the other person, to be supportive of the other person, to you know, because it's a choice. You know, and you know, when you start cultivating that grass underneath your own feet, and you water it, and you sod it, like, you know, I sodded I resodded the concrete over here recently. It was really tore up. But you know, you can have an example, and somebody can be an example, and that kind of stuff, but ultimately you can't have their relationship. You can have yours. And you know, and if you focus your entire attention on the grass on the other side of the fence, you're not focusing on your own grass, and you're gonna turn it brown. And if you think you're going to move into the other person's yard and take their grass because it's really nice and lush, but you don't know how to cultivate your own grass, then the second you get over there, you're going to destroy that grass too. You're going to end up with brown spots all over the place, and soon it's just going to die. And I think personally, you really have to take the time to understand what it is that you want in a relationship. I mean, if you have a relationship that ends, take the time. Don't just go, oh, well, she's a fucking bitch, or God, he was a fucking cock. You know, it's you have to take the time and go, okay, what did I do to contribute to this relationship, both positively and negatively? And that relationship may never ever come back again. But the next one, maybe you'll be more ready for it. Maybe you'll have a greater understanding, a great appreciation. You know, I've said this before. I had a relationship that was really meaningful, but I wasn't in the right place and in the right time in my life. I was in my 20s, and I just wasn't in the right place in the right time. And there was a lot of stuff was going on, but it showed me that it was possible. And friends and family that have been in my life, that I've seen their relationships, and I've seen the positive parts of theirs and the negative parts of theirs. I would examine them, and I would look at their relationship. I go, okay, well, what is it that was working with them and what is it that doesn't quite work, or that wouldn't work with me? And then seeking that out, and also having realistic expectations. Having realistic expectations of your relationship and of the other person, you know. So I guess that's kind of my really quick synopsis of that. And then when you do find it, treating it with respect, treating it with tenderness, treating it with care, treating it like you would a plant that you're fucking growing, you know, and, you know, not just pouring chemicals all over it, but really taking the time to nurture it. And, you know, sometimes you got to transplant a plant. Sometimes you got to change the soil out in it. If you don't, well, you know, it may start starving for nutrients. You know, if you don't water the grass, I don't give a fuck, unless you want to have zero landscape. It's, you know, it's not going to grow unless you live in the tropical jungle and it grows.
Yeah, cultivation.
Yeah.
Right? You cultivate that relationship continuously. And the qualities you want from your partner, you have to be willing to give yourself. If I expect Dusty to be honest and authentic, I better goddamn be honest and authentic myself.
And even if I'm not being, you have to.
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's not, you always hear this, well, 50-50. No, there's some times where it's 20-80. Sometimes it's 10-90.
Yeah,
You know?
but who's keeping score?
Yeah, that's the other
Right?
side. You don't keep score.
Yeah, it's not like, well, I did this for you, you do that for me. You're not on like opposite sides and you have to stay even. You're on the same team and you work together cohesively. And Dusty always likes to bring the yin and the yang example. It's not like this, okay, this solid thing. It's a moving orb, a constantly changing ball that's ever in balance. And balance isn't this rigid, perfect, fixed line. Balance is learning how to always compensate to create the most harmony possible.
Yeah, I mean, there's moments where, you know, for whatever reasons, one or the other is, you know, mentally not there. And you have to be for that person. You know, like I say, the yin and the yang. I mean, you take the yin and the yang and you divide it in half. Okay, so you take your circle and you divide it in half, but that circle is fluid. You know, the inner space inside of that is fluid. It can expand. It may still be a circle. It can expand, but it might kind of get a little oblong too. But even if you take that and you divide it in half and you have the absolutes of the yin and the yang, there may be times where you're the fat part of it, and there may be times where you're the point of it, and your partner may be sometimes be the fat part, and they may be the point. And in between there too, because as you're transitioning, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I was, you know, COVID's tough, man. It's tough. The whole thing of it is tough. And I was having kind of a tough moment. And instead of Peppermint going, well, buck up, little camper, and get your, you know, pull your shit together, it was like,
being a pussy.
yeah,
Or something.
it was like, okay, you know, how can I help you? I don't know, Pep. I don't know. Maybe I just need to take a breath. And so we went to the park and we just hung out in the park. And there's been times where it's the same thing with her. You know, I don't make fun of her. I don't chastise her. I don't give her shit. You know, I've had tough moments. You know, we're in this together. We're here to support one another, not tear each other down. There's enough of that outside of this yin and yang circle that we have to deal with. You don't need to be doing it within your inner circle. You don't need to do that. You don't need to be doing that within your inner community. You know, you build your community of friends and family and support. You know, you as an individual in that should stand out and be recognized, just like in a relationship. And that there are strengths that I have, and there's weaknesses that I have, and there's strengths that Peppermint has, and there's weaknesses that she has, and you don't take advantage of those. You don't manipulate those for negative purposes. And in a relationship, I think that's extremely important. You know, it becomes so easy to chastise somebody because we sometimes think, well, they're always going to be there. Well, no, they're not. At some point, they will not be there. I don't give a fuck what it is. It could be cancer. It could be a car accident. It could be just age. I mean, someday I'm going to be 80, 90 years of age, and I may be here alone, or Peppermint may be here alone. You know, we will outlive one or the other. And so you better enjoy those moments while you can, because you never know what they're going to look like tomorrow. And so I hope that helps, BB. That's my take on it. And
You heard mine earlier. We didn't get it recorded, but so may you take that information and go out into the world and digest it and use it however, and may you like call in that beautiful divine relationship that you want and deserve.
Yeah, and maybe that relationship reblossoms. You know, sometimes it's a matter of just walking up to your partner and saying, you know, I fucked up. I'm wrong, but making a conscious decision not to do it again. You know, because one can be forgiven, as my father taught me. What was it? If you fuck me once, damn you. You fuck me twice, damn me. You fuck me a third time, I must be wanting something. And so take that into question too. You fuck up once, okay. You know, we all make mistakes. Do it twice, the same thing, then you got to kind of look at it and go, okay, why am I doing this? And then the third time, then I must be wanting something. Maybe I want chaos. I don't know.
1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. The old bat and ball game.
Yeah. You walk up into the batter box, same thing. You know, you walk in there and you're the pitcher's throwing a slider, and you're expecting a fastball.
And in any relationship, we all bring in our past relationships, our habits, our conditioning, our reflexes, and it takes a while to undo that conditioning. Like you were saying with your girlfriend, you know, it's probably attachment issues from the past. Yeah, it probably is. And if she hasn't really taken the time to like acknowledge that and sit down and address that and heal that, she's always going to carry it with her into her relationships. So we have to be willing to look inside where we're wounded, where we're hurting, where we're projecting, where we're like, you know, causing drama and trauma within the relationship, and where we've been traumatized in our past relationships, whether that be from our childhood and our upbringing or our like early romantic relationships. And we have to be willing to like hold that mirror to ourselves and say, oh, I really did fuck up, and own it, and be able to forgive ourselves for that and heal that, or forgive the person who did us that injustice. Forgiveness does not mean condoning. So just to be able to like make peace with it and move past it and continue forward into the future. So we have to look at ourselves too and be willing to heal our own wounds.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. Like, I mean, you know, even inside a relationship, I mean, you know, you're going to accidentally say something, and maybe you don't even realize that what you said is hurtful to the other person, because, you know, maybe they haven't shared something. That's one of the reasons why it's really important, I think, to just really be able to communicate, you know, open communication. You know, sometimes I think people get confused with open relationships. You know, it's about communication. It's about being able to communicate openly, and it's okay to have boundaries.
You have to have boundaries.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think sometimes we get so mixed up in shit that we think, okay, well, a perfect relationship is you're just completely open to anything and everything, free spirit. Oh, bullshit. There's, there's, we all have our own boundaries, and maybe those boundaries change as we grow.
mm-hmm.
But it's okay to have a boundary, and it's okay, and you should be respected, and that boundary should be respected. And you shouldn't push somebody. There's one thing to, I don't know, this is kind of a quasi area. It's like there may be an area you're uncomfortable with, and you may try to help your partner grow with that, but you have to make sure that the reason why you're trying to help them grow, is it really for them or is it for you?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you want to have a threesome, does your partner really want to have a threesome, or do you want to have a threesome and you're trying to convince your partner to have a threesome?
You're trying to coerce them and
Yeah.
like agreeing to something that they really wouldn't want to, but you're being selfish and like,
Yeah, and it's the intent, and that is the other factor in all this: compassion, understanding, authenticity,
honesty, respect,
and then what did I just say?
What did you just say?
What did I just say?
Intention.
Intention.
Always comes down to intention.
And the word manipulation has such a negative connotation to it, but manipulation is just a word. It's just a word.
It means to move.
Yeah. I mean, you manipulate a pencil. I mean, what you write has the power of either being positive or negative, but the manipulation of that pencil on the paper, there's nothing negative or positive about it. It's just a fact. You've manipulated that. So it all comes down to your intent, of what your intent is in manipulating of that situation or scenario. So, every situation that you approach your partner with, you should analyze your intent, your what it is that you're actually trying to motivate or do, and make sure that that's coming from a place of love, not fear. Love and respect, and not degradation or humiliation.
This has been an awesome conversation. Thank you for asking your question today, BBC. It's really, really an awesome conversation. We love this part of being here on Chaturbate with all of you. So thank you.